Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a seriously fascinating concept called the mimic machines. We are literally standing on the precipice of a future where the line between organic flesh and silicon is totally blurring. And, this isn't just science fiction anymore. Engineers are out there right now actively trying to perfectly mimic the absolute most complex biological system we know of, us. Okay, let's dive into this. When a machine can look, move, and react exactly like you do, how do we actually define the boundary between genuine organic life and artificial mimicry? It's wild to think about. It really forces us to ask a profound philosophical question. What does it truly mean to be alive in an age so completely driven by engineering? For centuries, humanity has been absolutely obsessed with automata. These were those historical, clockwork figures that relied entirely on gears, levers, and honestly just clever misdirection. They created a really charming but ultimately purely superficial appearance of life. Modern robotics, well, that operates on a completely different level. Today's goal isn't just to fake it anymore. The goal is to imbue these machines with the genuine qualities of life, driven by a really deep biological understanding and highly advanced AI. So, let's start with Section 1, from clockwork to consciousness. Just consider two historical marvels for a second. Jacques de Vaucanson's digesting duck, which, spoiler alert, didn't actually digest a single thing, and Wolfgang von Kempelen's mechanical Turk. These were absolute masterclasses in misdirection. They were literally just hiding a human chess player inside a box. These early attempts really emphasized that our historical ambition was just an illusion. But today the ambition is to actually build it. Moving right along to Section 2, engineering the human touch. Take a second and just look at your own hand. To truly replicate its biomechanics, engineers first have to crack something called proprioception. Basically, that's the ability to sense the position, location, orientation, and movement of your body parts. A robot can't just be a dumb metal claw, right? It needs this absolute real-time spatial awareness of exactly where its synthetic limbs actually are in space. And this brilliantly illustrates how we actually build a tactile feedback loop for this. Step 1, sensors that are embedded right in the synthetic skin detect the absolute slightest slip. Step 2, that proprioception and exteroception data rushes straight back to the processor. And step 3, actuators adjust the synthetic muscle tension instantly. This incredibly rapid loop is exactly how a robotic hand knows not to crush a delicate egg or, drop a sweating glass bottle. When we compare the biological system to the engineering solution, advanced materials science really takes center stage. Where we have bones and muscles, engineers are building actuators and synthetic muscles that contract and relax with just remarkable fidelity. Where we have skin, they're developing synthetic materials absolutely packed with pressure and temperature sensors. They are meticulously trying to replicate the electrochemical signaling of our bodies and that completely frictionless glide of our tendons. Let's transition to Section 3, programming empathy and behavior. Think about the staggering computational load required for something like a caregiver AI. Lifting someone, that's just the physical part. The truly hard part is reading the room, which is honestly something even we humans struggle with sometimes. To genuinely assist someone, the AI has to understand the subtle nuances of tone and inflection. It needs to detect signs of distress, parse sentiment, and use natural language processing alongside deep learning transformer architectures just to understand the wildly complex patterns of human communication. There's a striking quote from the source document that really stuck with me. It says the goal is to, quote, generate responses that are not just grammatically correct, but socially appropriate and emotionally resonant. Just pause and let the gravity of that sink in. These machines are actually learning from interaction. They are adapting their responses based on past conversations, all to foster a genuine sense of connection and empathy with us. Which brings us to Section 4, the mathematics of expression. So first off, the AI has to interpret you. It uses incredibly complex computer vision algorithms to analyze facial landmarks. We're talking detecting tiny shifts in muscle tension, pupil dilation, or even just the subtle curvature of a lip. Then it uses generative adversarial networks, or GANs for short, to create hyper-realistic facial animations. The machine physically controls actuators underneath its synthetic skin to smile or frown right back at you, projecting a contextually relevant, totally believable emotional state. Next up is Section 5, powering the mechanical brain. Of course, to make all this magic happen in the real world, we hit a massive wall, the energy hurdle. For human-level fluidity and endurance, robots need insanely compact power sources. Researchers are constantly pushing battery tech, exploring advancements in solid-state batteries, and even looking toward future bio-integrated power sources. We're talking tech that could literally harvest energy directly from the surrounding environment, or, incredibly, from the robot's own physical movements.
And right next to energy is the computation hurdle. This is leading engineers straight to neuromorphic computing. Now, this is a computer architecture deliberately designed to mimic the exact structure and function of the human brain. Why? Well, to process an absolute deluge of real-time sensory data without lagging, computing has to be heavily miniaturized and blazing fast, executing massively complex calculations in just milliseconds.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that building these mimic machines isn't just a single endeavor. It's a massive, unprecedented convergence of disciplines. Robotics handles the actuators, sensors, and locomotion. Materials science brings us novel polymers and self-healing synthetic materials. And computer science, that drives the leaps in AI and specialized parallel processing chips. All of these completely distinct fields have to collaborate flawlessly to pull this off.
And finally, Section 6, blurring the organic line.
One major leap helping blur that line is soft robotics. This whole field utilizes compliant materials and fluidic actuation to create truly organic, non-rigid movement. Think about healthcare environments for a second, places where humans and robots are going to work side by side. Traditional, rigid, metallic robots can actually be pretty dangerous. Soft robotics, though, allow for safe, gentle, and far more natural physical interactions between humans and their synthetic counterparts. Ultimately, here is the big takeaway. The true goal of these engineers isn't necessarily to create a perfect, one-to-one exact replica of a human being. The goal is imbuing machines with human qualities, making them effective, adaptable, and highly capable. We are building sophisticated partners, right? Tools with actual human intuition that can perform incredibly complex surgeries, bridge gaps in communication, or effortlessly navigate hazardous environments. So as the distinction between the organic and the artificial becomes beautifully and, yeah, perhaps a little unnervingly blurred, what will our relationship with technology actually become? When the machines we build aren't just tools anymore, but entities that understand, interact, and genuinely mimic the very essence of humanity, what happens next? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it leaves you with something fascinating to ponder.